Hey gang, so here we are. We are at day one of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. So IAE as we call it here in the verse, and this is 2955. I wanted to go over a few of the highlights here, a few of the sales, and basically just touch it all over the place because that's how I am. I'm creepy. Let's go ahead and get into it. So obviously we're here day one. We got the Perseus. If you look down here, they actually do mention the RSI salvation right here. And for Origin, they don't mention anything. For Drake, we know we're getting the Clipper, but the Clipper isn't mentioned here. On Drake Day, which is the 22nd, which I believe that's Saturday, we should be getting the Clipper, and they'll be selling the Kraken. I imagine this will be a pretty high sale day, and I imagine already RSI Day because the Polaris is a pretty high sale day. So let's go ahead and get into that. So we are on Robert Space Industries Days, which are the OG of the verse lore-wise and named after the game's founder. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. Let's go ahead and go down and see what the deals are. The RSI Perseus, we'll get into the Q&A and the sale page in a second here. Yeah, pretty nasty ship. There are some caveats with it that I'd like to drop on you. Just kind of pee on your picnic, which is what I do here, which is why I'm so beloved. RSI Salvation, of course, is the starter salvage vehicle. It's very small. You can guys see there's a person. There's no interior. There's just a cockpit. It's effectively the golem for the salvage way, for the salvage loop, is exactly what it is. It's meant to someone that has done salvaging a couple times before, and now there's a little tiny ship that they can upgrade their Mustang or Aurora to, and it's the RSI Salvation. So we'll get into that in a few minutes too, but let's go ahead and go down here. Teaches. So this is basically just an inverse podcast, all in character. And I was kind of rolling my eyes when I saw this. I was like, come on, guys, that's low effort. It is actually very well done. And it's a lot of in-game lore. One of the things that's kind of been remiss in this project so far is kind of the world building. One of the things I love about games like Fallout was you would walk around the world and you'd see like a skeleton. The skeleton would have stuff around him, and you could tell a whole story, and you could follow like an adventure just on this one little throwaway thing in the corner. And it's world building, and through those little things you pick up whole elements and voices of the world. It makes it feel like a real lived-in place. While Star Citizen in the verse has a background, you're not really immersed in it. You can fly around, you can see that this station is really pretty, and this station looks like you get herpes from breathing the air, but you're not really getting engrossed. You're not seeing the gangs everywhere, and that's coming eventually, but right now the NPCs just aren't there yet. This kind of inverse thing, which probably one day will be something that you can listen to on your mobiGlas while you are actively playing the game, gets us there. So this is really cool. I do recommend checking this out. Right now, the Warbond Daily Deal is the Meteor. This is basically the full combat version of the Mantis. These are, I believe, size 5 ballistic cannons, and they're bespoke. So they're very large, but you can upgrade to a Meteor with 10-year insurance. This thing does have an interior, so you can fly around, log out in it. Those things being bespoke ballistic weapons, though, means that this thing is in the fight, hits very, very hard, and then it's going to run out of ammo. It's basically got, I believe, 2 size 3s or 4 size 3s. 4 size 2s, something like that. It's not going to hit nearly as hard once those ballistics run out. So just be aware of that. This might be one of those Warbond deals that they are talking about, or that I was talking about yesterday, that are limited. So this might be the only time you can get the Meteor upgrade with 10-year insurance. But the Meteor is going to be available for sale on the last day. So if you just want a Meteor and you're not worried about this Warbond or upgrade thing, you can wait until the end of the sale and pick it up, and you'll be fine, which is a couple weeks from now. So don't let fear of missing out get a hold of you. Going on down here, of course, you have all the RSI ships for sale. So you've got the Scorpiuses, the Zeuses, Ursas, things that are kind of rare that we don't see that often. Salvation is going to be sale for another month, so you don't really need to get that right this second. Polaris is limited. Again, any of these ships you can fly, you can rent in game right now, and just rent them in game, fly them around, see how you like them. Perseus, of course, $800. So it went up by, I believe, $150 from the concept sale. We'll get into that in a minute. The Orion, this is a ship that this is the only time of year that you can get the Orion. So if you really want an Orion, when it goes for sale, it'll be a lot more than $650. This is the end game miner, and it's enormous. It will probably be $1,000 ship when it drops. So if you want to buy a CCU from something that's like $600 or $625 to this, and then when this goes up in price to $1,000, you get it for $25 as opposed to like $400. That's sort of what those CCU chains do. Is you actually, we'll get into that. Let's do that last. So coming in here, Meteor, of course, is the one that they got the deal. Here's the Manus. So the Manus has an interdiction and a quantum snare, so you can drag people out of quantum and keep them locked down. This one doesn't have that capability. I believe this one has 2 size 4s. Is its only guns. It is pretty maneuverable and pretty nasty. Lynx is just the luxury version of the Ursa. I'm not going to go into all of these ships. I could do that all day. The Galaxy is a modular ship that's fairly large, pretty useful. 380 is pretty good value for that ship. Again, I would say this is one of those ships that if you're regularly dropping with 3 to 5 people, this is a good ship. If you are a solo player, go with something a little bit smaller. The Taurus, the one that I wanted to talk about, was the Phoenix. This one's a limited stock, so they only sell so many each sale. There's only a couple windows where you can get them. I would almost say pass on the Constellation Phoenix. The only thing that makes it really special, it's basically the what? The Andromeda? Is that what I'm looking for? Yeah, the Andromeda, except in the sort of cargo area, it's got sort of a luxury, it's a luxury version of the Andromeda. It's got a PDC, which is kind of its claim to fame. I think it's got a couple of them. And it's got a hot tub. Is a hot tub worth $350 to you? I don't know, but if you really want a hot tub, that's probably the way to go. So let's go ahead and look down here. So the featured paints, Vespid paint, the Brazilian paint, disco paint. Again, these are only concierge, so you have to spend a certain amount. Moon shadow paint, so someone's a Cat Stevens fan. And then you can buy actual merchandise in IRL. So, yeah, let's go ahead and jump over and look at the true concept ship, the new one, which is the RSI Salvation. So again, this is a starter miner, or a starter salvager. So if you are more or less brand new to the game, all you have is like an Aurora, or that's something that's missing. They were reworking the Aurora. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen that. Anyway, yeah, this is a pure starter. You can't log out in the ship. The entire interior is the cockpit, so there's no living space inside this thing. Short range, very small. You're only going to be able to print 6 boxes, which is half of what the Vulture can do. Just something to keep in mind. This is a true starter ship. It can fit on numerous other ships like the C2, which is its advantage. It's basically just a little force multiplier. You can put it on a Carrack or something like that, and now you've got a salvage mission going out of a Carrack. So kind of cool. And you can just continuously print boxes. Kind of a good deal. It is right down here. Let's go ahead and look at the colors. So that's the standard one. So if you buy it, that's what it'll look like. Safeguard, this is probably the one that I'd go with, but that's just for Carnival colors. for our salvagers. We call them smokers. Chimera, Disco. I don't know why they're calling it Disco. I guess it's a little bit iridescent. Vespid, that's the special skin. And then Eureka, which is, I call it Hurston colors. They always do kind of like a black and gold one. I think that's kind of calling out to Test Squadron, but not entirely sure. Come on down here. This is how much it costs. $55 new money. So if you're not upgrading from anything else, it's $55. If you're upgrading from something else like an Aurora or a Mustang, it's going to be $60. I recommend going that route, and I recommend going that route only if you really like salvaging. Right now, it doesn't have a specialized purpose in the game. From what I understand, it will eventually be the one that creates salvaging dust or something like that. And then you've got a starter pack for $3 more, which is actually a pretty good deal, because starter packs give you starting money. First of all, it gives you the ship. And then it gives you a game pack, which again is probably worth $15 on its own. So you're getting that. You're getting the Vespid paint, which I think we saw before was like $5 or something like that. You get a jacket, which who cares? You get a Pathfinder shirt, okay. Pants, boots. 40K starting money, which would be if you had an Aurora and you upgraded to this pack. Actually, I think this pack you have to buy new money. Could be wrong about that. But you also get lifetime insurance, self-land hanger. Doesn't matter. I don't even know why they include the hangers anymore, since that's not really what we're doing and haven't really done since like 2016. Anyways, that is a pretty good deal, especially if you've got a new player in the game that likes salvaging, like you've taken them out in a Reclaimer or a Vulture and they've liked the game loop. This would be a good package. Or if you are a new player and you liked going out in the Vulture. If you are a brand new player and you've never played the game before and you're looking at this thing, you're like, that's awesome, I want that. I would say go into the show, rent a Vulture, run a baseline salvaging mission and see if you like it. And if you like it, get this and you'll be able to buy a Vulture in game pretty quick. So that's it for that. Of course, we've got all the paints right here. How much was the special paint? Did I see? Was it $5? Yeah, $5. Okay. So yeah, you are saving a bit of money. That actually is good value for that pack. RSI Salvation, there you can upgrade from there. So that is the Salvation. Worth it. Yeah, if you got a new player, or if you want to do like a full force multiplayer, like put, I'd say 3 of them in a C2 and run a salvage operation, not a bad deal. I mean, that's 18 boxes and you could kind of just keep going back and forth. Let's go ahead and look at the Perseus. Of course, the Perseus is not new. It has been around. I believe they concepted it 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It hits really, really hard. And I know this is the brand new, super sexy, really nasty ship. It is going to continue to be really nasty. It will be vulnerable to smaller ships that are able to outmaneuver it, which will be pretty much anything smaller than it. Eclipses will be the bane of this thing's existence, as will retaliators. Those big torpedoes, it won't be able to track them as well. It does have a fair number of PDCs, but it will be vulnerable to ships like that. Maybe the Gladiator, when they kind of do a gold pass on the Gladiator, I'd say keep out for that. But yeah, the one thing I would say about this is it is a gorgeous ship and it has some really cool paints on it. Just go ahead and click through those real quick. Deadfire's probably the only one of these that I'd get. Insight is actually kind of cool. And then they kind of got their Hurston colors, which is gray and gold. But the one thing I'd warn you on, and I respect my audience, you are adults, you have careers, you have your own budgets. For me, this is my hobby money, so I don't spend money on other hobbies. I spend it on ships through the year. So that is why I have so many ships. Does that totally justify it? No. But anyway, so you can get it with 10-year insurance for $700 before you break out your wallet. Keep in mind, these are manned turrets. These big guns, that is the whole point of this ship, are manned turrets. So if you are not dropping with 2 other people on the regular, think real hard of whether it's worth flying around for $700. We will one day have NPC crews that'll be able to do some things, but bear in mind how NPCs work and what happens to server loads may not be 100% reliable. I would say the minimum crew for Perseus is probably 5 people. You got 3 people on the bridge, so you control. Real quick, how I calculate crew sizes is I count up the number of turrets. I figure you need a pilot. And then depending on the size of the ship, you need 1 to 3 engineers. This one, I would say 1 to 2 engineers are what you need. And there's 4 turrets and you need a pilot. So right there, you're talking 6 people. You could get away with just the 2 big turrets, a pilot, and an engineer. So 4 people. I know some people are going to say blades. I think, and I've done several talks about blades, so I'm not going to belabor the point here, but I have a feeling blades will be extremely limited. There'll be other things that blades can do, and you'll probably only have room for 3 slots, and they won't be able to control manned turrets. They will probably only be able to control remote turrets, would be my guess. There's a lot of information we don't know about blades. I would not count on them. I would not count on NPC crews. I would count on how many people you regularly drop with. That said, lecture over. $800 if you're upgrading to it, $700 if you're spending new money. And again, they have all the special paints here. Not all of them do it for me. They are all really well done. It's an incredibly well done ship. I would say this is probably not the ship you would want as the centerpiece of an org. It's too specialized. It would be like having a hammerhead be the centerpiece of your org. Might be a fun one to do big bounty missions with, or mercenary missions. It would probably be a really good ship for that. Signing on with another fleet as like an escort or something like that would be very cool. So if you have a very tiny org of like 3 to 7 or 8 people, this ship would probably be ideal. And then you just sell out your services to whoever you want. That could be a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Q&As here. Oh, okay. What are the most notable changes? Biggest changes revolve around the weapons load. Yeah, I'd say so. They went from size 7 to size 8. Really big guns. Most of the questions they have in these things tend not to be really good. Like definition of a heavy gunship. Well, it's Corvette sized and has really heavy guns. That kind of thing. Let's see. Pilot controlled weapons. I believe it controls the torpedoes. Yeah, pilot can fire the torpedoes. There is a dedicated one and has slave control of the top remote turret. So 2 size 3 guns. So if you are solo flying this thing, you have as much firepower as trying to think of a fighter that has 2 size 3s. There's not many of them. That's less firepower than a Saber. So don't solo fly this thing. It will not be scary and people will absolutely try to kill you just to make a point. One thing I would say about that is once armor comes in, this thing will be much harder. Right now, it's going to be absolutely bodied by like light fighters because that balance is not in the game. So I have a feeling this ship is going to have a backlash in the next month or so. People will be saying it's too weak against fighters. People will be swarming these things with arrows and furies and whatnot and absolutely blowing the crap out of them. Don't take that as the norm. And also don't watch vids with people that are running this thing with a full org and thinking you can do that solo. I think I've beat that one into the ground. The Salvation. This one's a little bit more interesting of a Q&A. This is positioned as an entry-level ship where the key features that make it ideal starting point for aspiring salvagers. So again, it's a tiny ship. It can fit in other ships and yeah, it just gets your feet wet. Salvation Stoli SU capability is 6 and it has 6 on the hopper. So you can salvage 6 SEU, print out all of those boxes, and then salvage 6 more, but you won't be able to print those out until you get the 6 SEU out of the way. Just exactly like the Vulture, where it has 12 you can print out, and then you can hold 12 in the hopper and then print them out. Let's see. Now, this is the important thing. What types of construction materials will it produce, and what size ships can it structurally salvage? The Salvation is a light salvage ship that is able to recover rubble, a dense construction material with low yield but a faster refinement time. Due to structural salvage not being its focus, the largest ships we intend for it to be able to fracture successfully are around the size of the MISC Freelancer. So Freelancer, Zeus, yeah, I think the Zeus is in a similar category. Cutlass, ships around that size. So medium smalls. Bespoke or salvaging heads, yeah, it comes with 2 of them. How the players access the filler station, you have to get out. It doesn't have an interior. So on to the pledge store, because we got a couple cool things here. Obviously, that's the starter pack, Perseus tenure. You got the Dust Devil, which is kind of the, if Darth Vader were a Viking suit, and then the Epoch Aves, which very glistening kind of same suit that they had for the Tavarin. And then you have the one that you can get through Twitch drops, which is not on here. Let's go ahead and look at ship upgrades real quick, because I want to show you how this works. So again, this is RSI day, so the Orion is available. Oh, and let me show you that too. The Orion won't be available. It'll be available tomorrow, and then it won't be available past that time until the finale. So you're going to see it drop off the store. You're going to kick yourself. You'll be like, oh, damn, I should have gotten that while I can. It'll be available in the finale. So if you really want an Orion, just wait. So one thing you can do over here. So this is the Orion. Let's say that you were going to move to an Orion. You've got my ships here, which is the ships that you actually own with your own money. You don't necessarily need to buy an upgrade from a ship you own to a ship like this. You can buy 2 that are completely outside of it, and a lot of people do that, and that's what they mean by making chains. So if you click on all ships, this shows every ship that's available in the game. And keep in mind, during IAE, especially during the finale, every ship will be available, so you have a lot more ships to choose from. So we're going to go all the way down, because it'll give us the most expensive ship below the Orion in cost. So actually, it's given us everything. Okay, so I lied. Usually this limits this, but we're going to come down here. So you can get the Carrick Expedition with a Pisces for $645. So that is a $5 upgrade from the Carrick to the Orion. I wonder if it'll less. Yeah, okay. You used to be able to do $0 upgrades, and I've still got a few of those. CIG realized how dumb that was and stopped doing it. Of ships that are more commonly available, the Carrick is probably the one that you will be able to find the most often. It pops up in the most sales. These other ones are kind of special, but you can get them right now. Again, that is a $5 upgrade. And again, the Orion will probably be a $1,000 ship when it drops. So for $5, you're getting what? $345, $355 worth of value. So not bad. That's like several ships. That's like a galaxy right there that you just got for free, basically for $5. So I would recommend doing something like that. In fact, I might pull the trigger on that particular thing right there. But that is how you build chains. And then all you need to do at some later date, because the Carrick probably won't be changing in price at any point, the Orion definitely will. That's what they mean when they say build chains. And that is all I'm going to say on that, because this one is already creeping towards 30 minutes, and I like to make my videos a little shorter. So if you have questions about chains, let me know if you got a Perseus, if you're going to try to do it solo, if you have hopes for NPC crews or blades, if you went for the smaller guy, if you went for the Salvation, let me know why you did that and what you plan to use it for. Salvaging, obviously. Catch me next time.